Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 12 of D.A.R.C, or Does Anyone Really Care? The mini review series where I'm evaluating some of the cars which people in general maybe forget about. Maybe you've never been in the dealership, maybe you've even got one in your garage but you haven't tuned it or haven't used it in ages. Maybe you just don't want to potentially waste your money on a car that might be a waste of time. Now in this episode, as you can see, it's the Isuzu 117 Coupe. It's from 1968. And this car really is one of those cars, like some of the others that have been in this series, but this is one of those cars that really epitomises what this series is all about. Cars which people in general just don't care about. They don't give it a second thought in the dealership. They never buy it. And, I mean, who cares? It's an old car. It's boring. It's not going to be quick. Who cares? Well, you should care, because it's a really good car. Fully tuned, it's far, far better than it looks. I mean, it's a good looking car, but it is quicker than it looks. Now, this is one of my personal favourite classic cars of all time, the 117 Coupe. But its performance is even better than the way it looks. Fully tuned, it's just under 500 pp. It's more competitive, I would say, around 450 or 475, but it's just under 500. It's actually 493 fully tuned. You're looking at 335 brake horsepower, which is a lot more than it looks like it should have. And with the full weight loss package, you're looking at 882 kilos of weight, so it's also a lot lighter than it looks. It's also rear-wheel drive, which is great because it means it's got well-balanced handling and it can also drift really well if you want it to. But the best thing about this car, apart from the looks, I mean, I think this is such a good-looking car, but obviously that's just opinion. But the best thing about it, apart from its looks, is its handling. Now, I know this is probably going to sound dumb unless you've driven this car. And maybe it's just me, but I would say that this is one of the best handling cars on Gran Turismo. I would say it's easily top 5, maybe even top 3 best handling cars in the game. If you've never driven the car, seriously, buy one now and try it. It is so good. The handling is almost perfect. I would say it's got the closest to perfect handling of any car I've driven on Gran Turismo 6. It's just so nice to drive. The handling is so smooth. There's tons of grip. You can take corners on midfield flat out. It's so good. There's so much grip. It's so easy to drive. It almost feels like the car is doing the work for you, which is very unusual for a classic. Usually you have to do a lot of work driving a classic. But this car is just a joy to drive. The brakes as well are really good. And although it's old and doesn't look particularly aerodynamic, it's also very quick. I haven't timed its acceleration, but the top speed without NOS is around the 190 region, so it's very quick. And with NOS you can get around 220, 230 miles per hour out of it, even more, so it really is a sleeper car. It's a lot quicker than it looks. But although it is quick, the best aspect of the car is just how nice it is to drive. Now, I haven't used it in racing, so I don't know how competitive it is, but I think it would be very competitive against at least other classics, probably even more modern cars as well. So I would highly recommend trying this car in competition, be that time trials or full-on racing. But I mainly personally just use this car just for cruising. It's just such a nice car to drive. I mean, that's just my personal taste, but I know some of you have similar taste to me, and if you do, then you will definitely enjoy driving this car. I can't remember the price, but I do know that it's very cheap, and that's unusual for a good-looking classic car. Usually they're very expensive on Gran Turismo. The classic Skyline, for instance, 320,000 credits, and it's not even a premium car. But this one is very cheap for how good it is. Visually, I think it kind of reminds me of some of the classic Audis and Mazdas from back in the day. But again, better looking, I would say, than those. But if you haven't tried this car out before, I'm sure there are those of you who have tried this car, who love this car, who know people who do. But if you haven't, I really do urge you to try this car at least once. It is so good to drive. So that's it, really. So as always, thanks for watching.